present is the product of history. And if we understand where we are now is the product of where we were. First of all and foremost, I'm the father of Roger McClendon and the pawpaw of Deja McClendon. That's more important than the other kind of titles that I have. One of my areas of expertise is the philosophy of sports and the African American experience. One of the stories I think that would be important is the fact that the Harlem Wrens, they played as the first all-black basketball team in a predominantly white league. And while many people know the Jackie Robinson story, Rube Foster had a different vision of the future than what happened with Jackie Robinson. When Rube Foster founded the Negro Baseball Leagues, the idea behind it would not be that an individual would be integrated, but that teams would become a part of Major League Baseball. But what the NBA decided to do was to really scrap the whole idea of having any black players. And this is why the NBA started as an all-white endeavor. In the same instance, the Harlem Globetrotters have taken a course under the direction of Manny Johnson, who, is the black owner of the Harlem Globetrotters. People knew the Harlem Globetrotters more so than they would know teams like the Boston Celtics. Later, and one of the ironies was that the ABL was formed. One of the outcomes of that was that Coach Deja McClendon became the first black coach in that league, and that was a monumental, development. Coach McClendon studied with Dr. Naismith. He was the last person living at the time that he died in October of 1999. We have this one person, Coach John McClendon, the first coach to win 3 straight national titles. Coach McClendon actually elevated fast break basketball to such an extent that he actually wrote a book to accelerate the game so that it would be more of a transition game than the earlier period in which it was more of a slow down basketball game.
I think some of my childhood inspirations was Roberto Clemente, who wore number 21. I always loved, Dr. J and his creation on the court, shots that you've never seen before. And I met him years later, and still, very humble individual. And obviously has a linkage to Coach McClendon when they did, Dad, did when they had the one-on-one game between him and I think it was Kareem. As I look at basketball and, have learned the wisdom and stories of how it can change the trajectory of not only individual, but as a movement.
The other concern would be there were black women who played in the Negro Baseball Leagues because they faced not only racism, but also gender discrimination.
It's always tough to come after my papa and after my father, but coming up in volleyball, I didn't immediately see a lot of people like me. Volleyball wasn't a sport that had a lot of black women playing. I looked up to my family, and one of the things that I was thinking about my grandmother and my great-grandmother, actually, Garnet McClendon. So she played volleyball. She didn't have the opportunity to play professionally. She didn't have the opportunity to play at a high level. And I think that's something that the stories help us with, So understanding kind of that you're not just playing for yourself, you're playing for others and you're playing for your family. It does something else to the sport.
And so many people don't understand how the current situation is a matter of the intergenerational struggles that precede the present. Without those pioneers, then you can't have the contemporary world. And if we understand where we are now is the product of where we were.